Hey everyone, it's your buddy and pal Karnik, Serenity Wargaming and Explanations. For this video today, let's go the last upgrade card for Star Wars Armada that I've not yet done for. As I mentioned before, I'm not going back to review any of the older cards, if they've changed or anything like that. This is the last upgrade card. We've got some squadron cards still to do after that, but this is, after so many years, finally done. Okay, let's talk about Sand Hill. Sand Hill is an officer for the Separatists. How can you tell? You look at the bottom right hand corner of the card, you'll see the Separatist icon next to point cost, 3 points. Other corner, you'll see the upgrade card icon, which is the officer icon. Sand Hill, in front of their name is a little dot or bullet point, signifies that they are unique. You can only ever have one Sand Hill in your fleet. And I don't think I have ever seen this card played once at all, ever. Uh, it's it's kind of a pointless card. Personal opinion, it's a pointless card. I've had a lot of people tell me that you could potentially get some use out of it with hyperwave signal boost, but they kind of conflict with each other, and that's mainly because people are just don't understand the wordings in this card or hyperwave signal boost, and they get some things confused. But let's dive right in. As always, I'll just read the card, give a quick this is how it works, and then we'll go into each section, some things to be aware of, clarification, etc. Okay. At the start of the squadron phase, you may discard any number of tokens from this card. For each token you discard in this way, one additional squadron at close to long range of you may be activated during each of your fleet's turns to activate squadrons this phase. All right. In a nutshell, what is this letting you do? At the start of the squadron phase, you say, hey, I'm going to go ahead. I want to use this card's effect. I'm going to discard a squadron token from this card, or, 2 squadron tokens. It starts with 2. And if you do so, yeah, each time it is your turn to activate the 2 squadrons in the ship phase, you can activate some additional squadrons that are at close to long range of the ship this card is equipped to. That is what the card does in a nutshell. But it just is not useful, and let me get into that. So this card does have one clarification, and it's in regards to how does Sandhill and Hyperwave Signal Boost work. And again, to be clear, so Hyperwave Signal Boost, there's so many people who misinterpret the card to believe it gives them Rogue, and it does not. If it gave Squadrons Rogue, it would say that. It does not give Squadrons Rogue. It does not give Squadrons the ability to move and shoot. Literally, Hyperwave Signal Boost, all it does is, do you have a squadron that has AI? Okay, great. It gets its AI bonus if you attack something. That's it. That's all it does. It has all this word on here, and that is the end value of what it's giving. So many people misinterpret this card as that it allows them to move and shoot. And so then they try to be like, oh, if I use Sand Hill with Hyperwave Signal Boost, I can have 6 squadrons activating and they can all move and shoot. And like, no, that is not how any of that works. So the clarification is, somebody asked, does Sandhill allow a ship to activate more squadrons with hyperwave signal boost than the ship squadron value? And they give an example. So, say, no, thank you for your question. No, Sandhill's effect would not resolve in the manner you've described in your example of the hyperwave signal boost. Only the squadron number chosen by hyperwave signal boost would receive that bonus effect as stated by each of those squadrons' wording. Somebody was asking, if I discard squadron tokens off Sand Hill, does that amplify hyperwave signal boost ability for each squadron activated to get hyperwave signal boost ability? And no, they don't work together at all. Do not use these two in conjunction, or if you do, just understand that they don't have any value together. You want to do them each separately. You don't want to try to intermix things. So using their example, you use Sandhill to discard 1 token at the start of the squadron phase, and then a ship with a squadron value of 4 exhausts Hyperwave Signal Boost and chooses 4 squadrons with that card's effect. That ship would then activate 4 squadrons chosen by Hyperwave Signal Boost to resolve with that effect for its AI bonus, and then that ship would activate 1 additional squadron without Hyperwave Signal Boost's effect due to Sandhill's effect. Or you can do it in either order. In this order, I didn't want to complicate it, so I just gave it, one order or the other, but you could do it, could do Sandhill first and then Hyperwave Signal Boost, however you want to do that. You choose the effects order to resolve. But in a nutshell, no, these two things do not complement each other. Okay. So let's get into more detail of like breaking down this card. So if you notice on the left hand side, you'll see that blue bar there. So that blue bar allows this card, when the ship with this card equipped to it deploys during deployment, it will get 2 tokens on this card. These are not tokens the ship can spend for whatever it wants or other things. Again, I still see this a lot where, somebody's like, oh, when I spend a squadron token off this card to do a squadron command, it's like, no, it's to that card. It can only be used for that card. Does it tell you can use it for squadron commands? No? Okay, then you can't do that. If a card allows you to do something that's explicit, it will tell you so. But otherwise, in the rule book and the RNG, which I know it's long and boring and difficult sometimes, but it fully explains how this all works. And a lot of people just like to take shortcuts or make assumptions. But for Sandhill, again, you only get those tokens if you deploy it in the deployment phase of when you're doing normal deployment stuff. If you deploy this ship afterwards, like if it was set aside, like the objective, the hyperspace assault, if you brought that ship in the middle of gameplay and put it down, you would not get the tokens on that card with the blue bar unless it says specifically otherwise, which it does not. So you'll lose the benefit if you deploy the ship not during deployment. Otherwise, if you do deploy the ship in deployment, you get those 2 squadron tokens on there. And as it says, is at the start of the squadron phase. So at the start, you can decide, I'm going to do either one or both the squadron tokens on this card. And if you do that, you get 1 additional squadron that's only, again, at close to long range of the ship this card is equipped to. Some people misinterpret that U as like, U as in any of my ships. It's like, nope, it's the U of that ship only. So when it's your fleet's turn to activate squadrons, again, when it's your fleet's turn, you always get the 2 squadrons you have to activate for your turn. And what this allows you to do is that instead of saying, I can only do 2 this turn, I can do 3 if I discarded 1 token, or I can do 4 if I discarded both tokens for each fleet turn's activation. So, like, to give the example, normally it's 2, 2, 2, 2 back and forth trading, right? Well, if you use Sandhill, if you discarded a squadron token, if you did 1, you can be like, okay, my turn, I do 3. My opponent does 2. Now I have to do 3, and they have to do 2. Now I have to do 3. Now they have to do 2. Or again, if you did both tokens at once, it's I have to do 4. They have to do 2. I have to do 4. Or you don't have to do 4. You can still decide to only do 2. Or again, 3 or 4, depending on the token amount. Because again, it says you may 1 additional squadron at close long range, you may be activated. So again, you're not forced into it, but if you wanted to, you could do up to 4, and they do 2, and then you do 2, they do 2, you do 4. Hopefully I'm not getting too complicated with that example, but largely it gives you the option that if you want to do more squadrons in one go, you can. But again, they still have to be within range of the ship, and that's kind of where you just really get into why you don't see this card at all, is that it's just too tough to make it work. So I would have loved to just seen that range restriction just go away, because then this card would totally see more play, I feel like, because if you have that ability to like suddenly do 4 squadrons, if like your first player and you have like 2 of the second player squadrons that are unactivated that are going to shoot your squadrons and maybe blow some up, and you've got some that you could activate to either move to go give escort to something, or if they are rogue, to move and shoot. Again, this isn't giving anything rogue, okay? Again, I have some people still somehow think that somehow this card grants rogue. It doesn't. This card doesn't grant rogue. Hyperspace Signal Boost does not grant rogue. It does not grant move and attacking. It just allows you, for Sandhill's case, is just to activate additional squadrons. And typically that's to either move or shoot or not do anything. If they do have rogue, then of course they can move and shoot. But Separatists don't have rogues. So I could see Sandhill being great with rogues, right? Activating 4 rogues in one go, but there's no rogues for Separatist squadrons. So I don't. There's just no use for it. I feel like it's just like such a worthless card. Personal opinion. Personal opinion. So I don't know if there ever was a chance that they could be granted Rogue, or there's something that could be useful. Right now, the only use I've seen it is kind of using with the Phallic or Affleck with the counter, or not counter, what's his name? DIST81. It's got snipe. It's just at odds with separatist strategy ultimately. So anyway, I don't really have much else to say about the card. I don't ever see it played. I don't use it. I think it's worthless even at 3 points. It could be 0 points and nobody would take this card. Or maybe somebody would take this card. I don't know. I just don't see. Usually it's not useful to activate more squadrons at once. Usually you're trying to wait for your opponent to move their squadrons around so you can then move your squadrons around. Usually it doesn't benefit you to front load any of your squadron activations unless again you're like first player and you have 4 rogues, you could like alpha into something. But again, separatists don't have rogues, so it's just like there's no use. All right, well, maybe you've discovered a way to use Sandhill that I'm not aware of, or maybe you've seen another player utilize this upgrade card. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear any use case for it. But otherwise, I don't recommend this card. There's so many better officers you can bring. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I am looking forward to Worlds at Adepticon. So much coming together finally. It's going to be a great time. If you haven't seen, we've got a bunch of Sumer events. We've got some sector fleets going on, task force battles. Just really excited for Adepticon end of March, and I'll see you there. Have a good one.